in 6 minutes starts now.
Big day at the United Nations. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Trump just tweeted that a few hours before his speech to the UN, writing many good things and some tricky ones happening. Fox's Tanya J. Powers live at the UN in New York.
Well, he also tweeted, "We have a good team," and a member of that team, State Department spokeswoman Heather Nauert, gave a preview of his address today on Fox and Friends.
I think the approach that the president is going to take will be a principled realism, where we take a clear-eyed look at the world, but still promote American values.
Now, her boss, Secretary of State Tillerson, will attend President Trump's speech, as will Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He is making a special point to be there for this. Other topics we expect to hear the president hit: North Korea and Iran. Dave.
Tanya, there's more info out today on Paul Manafort, President Trump's former campaign chairman, who was told in the Russian meddling investigation he may be indicted.
That from the New York Times, which says the threat came after federal agents raided his home back in July. And CNN is reporting that Manafort was wiretapped by the feds before and after the 2016 election.
Fox's Jill Nato. Hurricane Maria has decked Dominica. The small Caribbean island hit hard by a Category 5 storm. People on Irma-battered Antigua braced for it.
They're still boarded up from the last. Left it like that.
She's securing her boarded-up home. Maria and its 160-mile-an-hour max-sustained wind could also do more damage to the Virgin Islands and hit Puerto Rico directly tomorrow. The protests were quieter last night in St. Louis in the anger of a white cop being acquitted in the shooting death of a black suspect.
There were no arrests, no property damage, no violence, as we have seen in the last 3 days, which is a good thing. It's worth pointing out, perhaps, also that it also rained pretty heavily, perhaps playing a role in that.
Fox's Griff Jenkins in St. Louis. There were 3 arrests in Atlanta after a vigil turned into a protest in the police shooting death of a Georgia Tech student over the weekend. Fox News, fair and balanced.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. If you're in the market to buy a home right now, you know how challenging it is out there. You're competing against cash buyers, so it's critical that you work with a reputable, established mortgage company like Quicken Loans. By getting pre-approved with us, sellers will know that you're serious and ready to close when you make that offer. Here's one more way to get the home you want. You could buy a $150,000 home with as little as $1,500 down with our 1% down payment option. The rate today on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 4.125%, APR 4.52%. For 7 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation for customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 4th year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com. That's 800-QUICKEN.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 3030.
Lifeguards are again warning people to stay out of the water as Hurricane Jose approaches New Jersey today. Those warnings have not stopped a good number of folks from heading into the very rough surf. 15-foot waves are possible today. 3 people are jailed after 2 weapons and ammunition caches were found in Monmouth County, including thousands of rounds of ammunition, guns, bomb-making materials, even a homemade flamethrower. The investigation began in September after they got a tip about one of the caches inside a Howell Township home. The gas tax will remain unchanged in October, not going up or down a year after a nearly 23-cent increase that allows annual adjustments if revenues are not in line with projections. At a meeting with the President's Opioid Commission, 17 pharmaceutical bosses have pledged to share information and work to create non-addictive pain meds. Governor Christie chairs the commission. He says these drugs need to be developed and changes need to be made into testing protocols given the nature of this crisis.
And the incredible need of the American people for additional solutions to this problem and additional treatments for pain.
There were 64,000 drug deaths in the U.S. last year. I'm Eric Scott. This is the Town Square News Network.
Ready to save on auto and homeowners insurance? NJM's Blue Ribbon Bundle makes it easy. First, switch to NJM and you could save an average of 20% on auto insurance. Then add a homeowner's or renter's policy to save even more. With NJM's Blue Ribbon Bundle, you'll not only protect your biggest investments, you'll enjoy top-rated customer service and extraordinary value too. Bundle up and save now at startyournjm.com.
As Jose passes about 250 miles to our east, we are expecting some problems today, especially at the Jersey Shore. A coastal flood warning and high surf advisory in effect. We will see a little bit of rain today and potential wind gusts to 45 miles an hour. A few showers and a brisk wind tonight, big improvements tomorrow. I'm meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Are you a victim of a crime in New Jersey or know someone who is? Being a victim is difficult enough without having to search for help. The New Jersey Office of the Attorney General has made it easy to get the assistance you need and deserve. Visit njvictims.com to apply.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame.
I want to congratulate my friend, Harry Hurley.
You're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Hey, thanks very much. Welcome back. Chuck Malamut will join us in just a couple of minutes. What we're going to do is step aside for 2 minutes. We'll catch up on this upon Chuck's arrival. I'm almost certain that Chuck hit that traffic jam that I advertised about, and that was thanks to guest listener Jason for the heads up. And Chuck is literally a minute or two away from the studio. This is Chuck Malamut's weekly program that we do every Tuesday morning for the past 26 years. And he is the exclusive financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program. We'll be back in 2 minutes to begin. Chuck Malamut, all about your financial matters right here on Hurley in the Morning. This is Harry Hurley for All Season Solar, our official and exclusive solar energy provider to the Hurley in the Morning program. They design and they install the most attractive, efficient, state-of-the-art solar photovoltaic systems from the world's leading manufacturers. What I love about dealing with All Season Solar, they're your single point of contact. They do the system design, engineering, your building permits, installation, and the ultimate glorious utility connection day. They take care of everything under the sun so that you can sit back and reap the savings. Call Frank Neal today, 609-317-5491. That's Frank Neal, All Season Solar, 609-317-5491. There's never been a better time to go solar. The benefits are there. New Jersey leads the East Coast and second largest in the entire United States in terms of solar energy panel installation. No deposits, no hidden fees, no out-of-pocket costs. All Season Solar. Tell them Hurley in the Morning sent you.
As a small business owner, you're always on the go. So how can you make sure you never miss a customer's call? Grasshopper. With Grasshopper, you get all the features of a business phone system. That's right. Grasshopper turns your cell phone into a business phone system that's affordable and incredibly easy to use. Get a toll-free or vanity phone number that's memorable and professional. Customers are forwarded to your phone and connected to you or your team wherever you are. And with our app, your outgoing calls and texts show up as your professional phone number. We'll transcribe your voicemails and send them to your email so you can determine their importance at a glance. So whether you're always on the go or working from home and need to keep business calls separate, or you simply want a professional tone, Grasshopper makes it happen. Set up your account in just minutes. There are no long-term contracts and support is 24/7. Get your calls, stay connected, thrive. Now get $20 off your plan when you visit grasshopper.com/radio. grasshopper.com/radio.
Chuck Malamut is here. He's the managing director. He leads his team, the Malamut Group, at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office. To reach Chuck for all of your financial planning needs, call 609-383-2010. 609-383-2010. The program that you're about to listen to is presented by Chuck. Chuck Malamut is a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck. Do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast and are subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley, Smith Barney, member SIPC. Chuck Malamut, good morning. And I mentioned you earlier in the program several times, including the fact yesterday was another day and more market records. It's almost like it's incredible, actually.
Harry, good morning. Yes. Before we go there, I just would like to take a minute. Tough day for all of us. Hard to believe that it was a year ago today that their brother Bill passed, and when you sort of reflect back and you take a look at the year and the events that happened up to where we are today, I think what touched me the most was the fact that at the synagogue, there was you never really realize how many people you touch, I guess, until you're obviously not here anymore.
Which is kind of sad.
Yeah, I mean, it struck me. And then in the aftermath and the number of calls and cards and
the
people reaching out, it's just nothing short of remarkable. And I guess I didn't want the day to go by without it being unnoticed. Just such a young, vibrant, loving, caring guy that I was so proud to say that he was my brother. And I guess as I look, into the future of my life, I'm hoping that, all of those good qualities that I'm able to emulate, and I'm sure you think the same thing oftentimes.
I remember, Chuck, Margie and I, we arrived what I consider early, and we were parked way, way far away, and then you would make the walk back down to the synagogue. The turnout for your brother Bill 1 year ago was absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah, so, I know that he's looking down on all of us, and we are both smiling at each other because I know what we're thinking about.
I'm thinking of some of the pictures, like when Billy and I took the picture here in the studio with the Capri Pizza menu, and we said we're at lunch, and you weren't there. And then, I'll tell you, just such good times.
And I'm thinking of some of the, in growing up is having someone that's a little bit younger than you, you're supposed to be responsible for that person.
Yeah.
To help them get to see the way, and there were a number of things that happened that I really can't repeat at this point in time, even though
the statute of limitations
has long since passed. But but in any case, like I said, he touched so many people. Was so good at what he did. I know that nephew Jim was on last week and gave a touching tribute to him, and so I just wanted to just spend a minute or two and kind of reflect. I know Billy was very, very close with you, and it was sort of the three of us, would oftentimes communicate together, and it's just really sort of a sad day.
Well, I'll tell you what I remember. This was at the end of his life, but he very coherently heard the hour that we did.
Oh, absolutely.
All about
yes,
him.
Because
You were with him.
I was with him the last 10 days or so. Most of the time there, had some things to tend to here at home. But
if I remember, actually at one point a nurse came in and Bill said, "No, I can't do that right now."
Yes, I'm busy.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been waiting on you for the last week. You can wait on me for
an hour.
For an hour or so.
But I always remember that, and that was extremely special, and a lot of beautiful people called in. You know this, but I'm going to repeat it. Your brother Bill touched a lot of people. He helped a lot of people. Over the course of more than 3 decades, he helped a lot of people get into homes they otherwise never would have been able to get in. And people that have that kind of relationship never forget, people like Bill that made such a difference.
Yeah. So in any case, let's kind of remember today, as we do in the future years. And I know Brother Bill is looking down at all of us and kind of smiling from ear to ear, and maybe
he's laughing at us,
maybe chuckling and saying, Harry, I really thought you were better at picking your football, but but with that, and he's probably saying at the same, Harry, we understand it's a long season, so you'll be able to recover.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like that year I got him on the last day.
I know.
We had a great bet. He paid up. He always did. Chuck, your market update, please.
So, Harry.
And yesterday was another record.
Yesterday was another record, and we a week ago, if you remember, we were sort of recovering from the back-to-back hurricane events. The fact that the second hurricane while Hurricane Irma was devastating in terms of human cost, the economic impact was less severe than was originally feared. So the S&P last week was up 1.6%. All the major indices reached new highs, as you just identified. The markets had another positive day yesterday. And, as part of the broader outperformance, as we look at the trend, it's now trending again back to risk assets. Treasuries were weaker across the board. As we look at those prices, the dollar rose slightly, gold prices fell, and oil moved higher. So that was kind of where we were on a snapshot version on a week. And if you remember, the prior week, a lot of people were sort of ringing the bell saying, okay, we have the two hurricanes. This is just going to be awful. The property and casualty insurance companies are going to take a big hit. And as it turned out, obviously the devastation of human lives, that's certainly not replaceable. But I think you're going to see that the recovery to be, rather fast and somewhat furious, and the economies, for the most part. I mean, think about it, Harry. We've impacted two states, for the most part, Texas and Florida. But as you travel throughout the rest of the country, things are pretty good. And more sort of on a personal note, our family traveled to Chicago this weekend for a wedding.
I saw the nice pictures.
And thank you. And you always hear about Chicago being the number one city for murders. Now, where we were in downtown at the Loop, you felt safe. Chicago's 2.7 million people, two major airports, Midway and O'Hare. You never thought about the number of murders in the city as you're walking through the Loop.
So you felt you were in a safe metropolitan area.
Safe, clean, courteous.
Yeah.
I mean, whether you took an Uber, Lyft, or taxis, they were, how when you're in New York or Philadelphia and you take that mode of transportation, you take your life in your hands.
Yeah.
Here, aggressive drivers, but cautious at the same time, if that makes any sense.
And I predict, although I've not been there, my son likes it there and would say, has told me some of the things that you just said. You could call an Uber or a Lyft, and they're there in like 2 minutes.
3 minutes, yeah. I think the longest we waited was 3 minutes. Had an opportunity early in the morning to walk the right by Lake Michigan. Magnificent. It was 6:30 a.m. A lot of people out there, runners, walkers, folks on bicycles. If you need to go. I mean, this is a lesson.
It's a bustling big city.
This is a lesson for Atlantic City, because a lot of it is perception versus reality. Chicago has an uphill battle to fight with respect to the number of murders that are being reported. That obviously
so they have a perception and reality problem.
What I think what Atlantic City needs to learn from this is, in spite of it, they can be successful. Now, that's not to say that Atlantic City is not successful,
because
by any way, shape, or form. But it's Harry, it's a whole different feel. And when we got back to the airport, my wife and two children in unison said, "Wow, what a wonderful weekend! What a great city! When can we go back?"
Nice.
So,
did you fly Spirit or did you go to Philly?
No, we flew Philly to Southwest to Midway, which is just I've flown in and out of Midway. We have clients on the other side of town. Midway is a hub for Southwest. We could talk. We don't like to talk about individual companies. We don't like to talk about individual airlines, but the model they have there, the onboarding process is nothing short of remarkable.
So they're very efficient.
On time.
And you're not ticketed ahead of time, are you? You don't know your seat ahead of time.
Well, no. When you book your fare, you have an option to what is referred to as early bird check-in.
Hurley bird check-in.
Well, this is actually early. It's not Hurley,
no,
but
okay.
All right. Hurley bird check-in.
Anytime you see it otherwise,
I think you pay $15 or $20 for that. And what that gets you is a number towards the front.
Yeah, I gotta have that.
And so what happens is, the way they board you by, A, B, or C, and then numbers, 1 through 60. So if you are in the first, and most of the aircraft we were on, 150, 175 people, we were in the top 25%.
Good.
And as a result, you could basically pick, window, aisle, middle, and it's just so efficient the way they run it. I mean, we had 2 flights, both on time, actually both early arrivals.
When you say you could pick, did you go on the plane and go sit where you wanted to
You
sit?
do. You go.
So you don't have an assigned seat?
No assigned seat.
Wow.
You walk on and you walk through the aircraft.
To fly Allegheny Commuter.
And you decide where you want to sit.
I'm a big fan, and I don't want this to come off like I'm a snob, because people that know me know that's not true. But I sit in the front of the plane, and I sit as close to the front as possible for one important reason. I love being able to get off and be done and not have to wait. That's true. But the air is better in the front of the plane.
I don't disagree with you, Harry.
It's a true statement. I'm not making it up. It is. It's physically true.
And before we move on, I'll leave it at this. And again, a differential in airports, Philadelphia versus Midway. We literally walked off the plane, stopped at the restroom, went to baggage claim,
and your bag was
and
there.
The bags were there.
Wow. Now, the way you made it sound like, did you hopscotch? Did you get on 2 planes?
No. We went. No,
we
drove.
what?
We drove Atlantic. We drove from here to Philly. We onboarded in Philly, Philly to Midway, and 45-minute flight. And you're there, and you could be in downtown Chicago 20, 25, 30 minutes.
Now, Spirit used to have flights to Chicago. Do they no longer?
I think it's seasonal for them.
Yeah.
Like they have an Atlantic City, Boston flight.
Correct.
That's
I want to
seasonal.
take that Boston flight.
We've been on that before. It's wonderful.
I love it. I love the concept. I'm going to do it sometime. All right, Chuck, is there anything more on the market update?
No, so I think we're there, Harry. So why don't we...
Here's what I'm very curious to hear the Malamut principle here, because we're basically 11 days, not even counting today, 11 days until the end of the third quarter, which really is amazing to me. So when you come back next week, there's just going to be a few days left in the third quarter. Third quarter economic growth, what are your geniuses telling you?
So, Harry, as we mentioned a few minutes ago, growth might be somewhat suppressed due to the hurricane damage, but the rebuilding efforts that we're seeing now should continue to contribute, on a long-term growth basis. We might see a near-term drop in economic data from the direct hit, not only to Texas but also to Florida, those respective economies, as well as from temporary inflation spike that could weaken real purchasing power. And obviously, as you look at rising gas prices, it has, at the pump, it has an impact with respect to purchasing power. However, we, are still of the belief that we think that growth will rebound more on a longer-term basis. So as we exit the third quarter, move into the fourth quarter, we're pretty confident that economic growth is going to continue at the pace that we've seen. So what is happening, investors look at what happened in Florida and what happened in Texas. They kind of shrug their shoulders a little bit, and that's, basically saying that, that ended up helping, the equity markets reaching, new highs and turning the current bull market, Harry, believe it or not, into the second strongest that we've had in history. Now, if I were to say to you, Harry, would you ever believe that this market, this current bull market, started, back March 9th, 2009? And you remember do you remember that god-awful number for the S&P 500?
666.
666.
Yeah, I'll never forget.
And since then, what has happened, I mean, the numbers are just remarkable, but, it was so hard to be able to convince investors, to stay the course. But if you were fortunate enough to buy at the bottom or buy near the bottom or hold on to your positions because you believed you owned, quality equities, the S&P has gained 268% as of the end of last week from March of 2009.
So folks stayed the course and did not bail. And actually, by bailing, they insured their losses. If they had stayed true, and I'm not asking you to speak for every single stock, that every single stock rebounded, but by and large, the market not only came back, it roared back.
Well, Harry, it did, but remember, it's not like you hit that number in March 2009 and immediately moved up. I mean, we have had a number of pullbacks.
But doesn't this speak to what you talk about, spending time in the market, not trying to time the market?
Oh, absolutely, Harry. When you look at total return of a portfolio, virtually 92% of your return is based on time in the market versus trying to time the market.
And Chuck, one of the most memorable things that you say on your program from time to time, and I hear it out in the field when I'm out and about, when you've been able to share with people that a handful of dates, when you think about it in the course of, if we're talking years, a handful of dates, you being in the market, they impact so substantially.
Yeah, I think, Harry, and again, don't quote me on this, but going back and looking at historical standards, missing the top, the best 5 days over the course of 5 years, I believe it was, it had about a 200 basis point differential in total return. So again, I mean, I can't imagine that anyone is astute enough to be able to figure out, when to be in and when to be out. I mean, it's a matter of, matching goals, aspirations, and dreams to a portfolio with certain risk tolerance levels, and that's something that we espouse and we do every day. And in an up market, we're going to capture most of the upside, and in a down market, we're not going to get beat up as much. And I think what your listeners, investors need to they need to understand that, because what happens is you can get so caught up in the frenzy of what you see on TV or the internet or on your phone, you oftentimes lose sight of what your ultimate goals should be.
And Chuck, I say this as someone that's not in your industry. I know you cede no territory and forfeit the last 10 days of the month, but I don't want to say for all intents and purposes, but largely the third quarter really is done right now.
Well, the third quarter's done, but as I mentioned a few minutes ago, Harry, I mean, it's the two hurricanes are going to obviously have an impact in Texas and Florida, and as a result,
won't they actually though result in the same spending that would take place happening anyhow?
Yeah, but that's more long term.
Okay,
you
fair enough.
Have to. I think what happens is, you think about, you've taken all these people out of the workforce. You have homes that have either been totally damaged, can't be repaired and can't be rebuilt because the homeowner's upside down with the mortgage versus the value. They don't have the proper insurance. So I think there's a lot of mitigating factors there that we need to kind of understand when it comes to the third quarter reporting.
Chuck, we're going to take our bottom of the hour break. I'm writing a friend of mine, Dan, right now. Chuck, you were a Margate boy. I'm going to show you Jerome Avenue right now.
Is it high tide there?
That's,
oh my goodness.
That's before the 2 inches that we're going to get between today and tonight come. I just wrote that to Dan. I'm going to tell you something right now. Margie she was at an appointment, and she loves the beach. She loves the beach so much. She loved her beach, Lafayette Avenue, when she was a child, that you can't go underneath the boardwalk anymore. It breaks her heart. Seeing this stuff that is masquerading as sand that looks like it's your dirt Little League field. I mean, Chuck, this has nothing to do with your show, but this U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, they're an absolute disgrace. And at some point, and I'm going to be interviewing him in the next couple of days, I really want our congressman, who I consider a dear friend, to start talking about this. This is not acceptable. This is Lake Margate right here at Jerome Avenue. And this is before.
That's Jerome Avenue and the beach?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a lake, no doubt about it.
This is unbelievable. Yeah, that's like a seawall that you see there by somebody's home, I think. But this is just horrible. Absolutely terrible. And it's going to be a whole lot worse come at least 1 to 2 inches of rain. At one point, it was 2 to 3 inches of rain. We're very, very fortunate that Jose is just skirting by a few hundred miles off the shore.
48 hours out, it looked pretty devastating.
It's incredible. We'll be right back. You're listening to Chuck Malamut, all about your financial matters. A reminder, Chuck Malamut is the exclusive financial advisor for me, for this program, for the Early in the Morning charity. The Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley, at your service for all of your financial planning needs. Give Chuck a call, 609-383-2010. When I say all your financial planning needs, don't create a list. It's just everything, any goal that you have. By the time you sit down with Chuck and you get to know Chuck and he gets to know you, he will understand exactly what your goals are. And he is so expert at what he does to sit down with you to put together your plan. If it's to retire by a certain number, if it's to be able to pay for your daughter or daughters' weddings, if it's for college, if it's for vacation planning and building, or your own retirement planning. Turn to Chuck. Tell him that I sent you early in the morning.
720, 1230, and 530. The 3 times that you must listen to WPG Talk Radio 104.1. 720, 1230, and 530. Up to $5,000 could be yours. Listen for winning code words at 720, 1230, and 530. Then answer them at WPGTalkRadio.com. Up to $5,000. Win Harry Hurley's money with WPG Talk Radio 104.1 and WPGTalkRadio.com.
We treat people well. Shore Physicians Group.
Shore Physicians Group is proud to include rheumatology among its medical specialties, allowing you to seek diagnosis and treatment for arthritis and other disease that can affect your joints, muscles, and bones. Shore Physicians Group rheumatologists Dr. Linda Brecker and Anna Serlusu are board certified in internal medicine and rheumatology. Together, these expert practitioners bring fellowship training and a highly personalized approach to the people they care for. Shore Physicians Group is accepting new patients at its Summers Point and Marmore offices. Most insurance plans are accepted. For a rheumatology appointment, call 609-365-6200 or visit shorephysiciansgroup.com. That's 609-365-6200 or shorephysiciansgroup.com.
Shore Physicians Group, treating people well.
You've been lied to. Lied to by corrupt Washington politicians and the Wall Street propaganda machine. Hi, I'm Inc. magazine best-selling author Brett Kitchen, and I want to give you a free copy of my brand new book, Wealth Beyond Wall Street, because we all know another market crash could be right around the corner. After losing 35% in my IRA in the crash years ago, I said enough, and since then I discovered a way to grow money potentially double digits, reduce taxes dramatically, and also have my money protected when the next stock market crash hits. When the next market crash hits, you lose nothing. Call Wealth Beyond Wall Street now to get your free copy and talk with a specialist to discover this little-known strategy to get potential double-digit growth during good years and never lose when the next stock market crash hits, all while building a tax-advantaged retirement. Call 1-800-920-8484 to discover this asset that people like Walt Disney and JCPenney use to grow wealthy. Plus, get one of just 97 free books left. We even cover shipping and handling, no credit card required. Call 800-920-8484. 1-800-920-8484. That's 1-800-920-8484.
Paul D'Amato.
Harry Hurley.
Paul, I know our listeners want to know what's new with the D'Amato Law Firm.
Things are great, Harry. We are so privileged to represent our clients whose lives have been turned upside down because they were involved in a serious accident. We meet on a regular basis. We copy our clients on all our correspondence so they always know what's going on with their case. We try to treat them like family. We have Alexa here, my daughter. I'm so happy that she's here. We have Steve Van Natten and Casey Gifford. We're a great legal team.
They're the D'Amato Law Firm for all of your personal injury legal needs. Turn to the official lead counsel to the Early in the Morning program for more than a quarter of a century. The D'Amato Law Firm in Egg Harbor Township, 609-926-3300. That's 609-926-3300. 3300. Tell Paul, Alexa, Sandy, the entire team that Hurley in the Morning sent you.
Hi, it's Mark Levin. Join me at 6 this evening. Now back to the Mayor of the Morning, Harry Hurley, on WPG Talk Radio 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
Thank you very much. 34 minutes past the hour. Chuck Malamut is here. Reminder for all of your financial planning needs, turn to the Malamut Group, Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office, 609-383-2010. Chuck, because I know that you grew up in Margate and how important Margate is as your childhood hometown, Dan wrote me again. He said these pumps are going like crazy, feverishly pumping the water from the sewer into the ocean. They got a long way to go before what's going to come later today.
Yeah, hopefully, all the Margate residents, they'll get through it. It'll be fine. It's not new.
The Army Corps of Engineers, I guess this is a reluctant admittance to their incompetence. They've promised pipes.
Yeah.
So it's going to be okay long term, but what a disgrace.
Yeah. So Harry, let me go back for a second. We talked about what has happened with the current bull market. I just want to close on the fact that as I mentioned, it's the second strongest in history.
I was going to ask you, how does it rate?
Now
there you go.
That surpasses what happened in the early 1950s. The current bull market now only trails the market that was put in place between 1987 and 2000 as far as strength, overall strength. So, oftentimes, prospective clients say, well, I need to get in. I don't want to get in. It's too late. The fact of the matter is there's a lot of reasons that you need to consider when you build an equity portfolio. So we for sure do not think that the current bull market is approaching an end at this point in time. Even though we've had longevity, even though we've had strength, if we look at what's happening here in our country, solid growth, fairly easy monetary policy. The Fed meets today and tomorrow. 97% probability there is no change with rates. They are going to work down the balance sheet as they've talked about. We think something will be announced in October. There is a greater than 60% chance right now that we're going to see an upward movement in rates in December. If we need to look, Harry, obviously what's happening, what can derail the market at this point in time? We can talk ad nauseum about what's happening in Washington, and we will do that in a minute. But
how about, does this count if meaningful tax reform doesn't happen?
Yeah,
that derail the market?
Right now, Washington has a really brief window to get these tax cuts in. The recent agreement that we talked about last week to raise the debt ceiling, fund the government through the end of December, gives the president and Congress a little bit of breathing room to act on tax reform. If we don't see significant action, Harry, over the next couple of months, the probability of any change, tax legislation change, being passed is likely to drop significantly. So you have, I think, this window of opportunity now to get something done, over the next couple months. So market, by year end. So as I mentioned, the market, what drives the market, solid economic growth, easy monetary policy. For the market to derail, here's what has to happen. The damaging political turmoil, obviously in Washington, higher bond yields, which we don't see coming, and or a material drop in the dollar, even though the dollar has moved down significantly this year, could create some angst in the market and maybe stall the market. Harry, we don't think at this point in time that those events appear likely to happen. So I think because investors are so anxious about what's happening, that typically helps the bull market.
Yep. Chuck, here's one that I have been saying this for years. Just like you and me, I want to include myself in this, you and I, as a program, we saw the tech bubble before a lot of people did, and we were intellectually honest about it. I remember saying to you, Chuck, come on, there's no there. How are these numbers? This can't last. I mean, I saw it as a layperson. Here's something that I also saw early on, and it's because I'm part of it with 3 students that we've had to put through college who are now all adults. And I'm talking about, and we even had to pay for high school for 2 of the 3 because we didn't send the two girls to public school. Student debt, Parent Plus debt, this is this generation's next big bubble that's ready to burst. People are burning up forbearance. They're burning up emergency, other ways that you can delay due to economic hardship, delay making the payments. At some point, you burn all that up, unless you refi and get 3 more years of forbearance, because I learned every trick in the book with this thing that you can legally do. Chuck, this student debt, Parent Plus debt, is an absolute disaster in waiting.
Well, Harry, actually, I think it even gets worse than that because as you're getting towards retirement and you go to Social Security and you're ready to take your first check, I think many people do not know that they can be on the hook for their children's student loans if they co-sign for the loan. Up to 15% of the total Social Security benefit can be deducted to repay a student loan from a parent, a grandparent, or anyone else who has co-signed for the loan.
And if you did a Parent Plus loan, you're on the loan.
You're on the loan. So you're on the loan. Okay.
So if you
defaulted,
right, they could take up to 15% of your Social
They
Security.
could. So in addition, as you know, alimony, child support can also be deducted in some states. Federal mortgage payments are not deducted from Social Security because the government virtually has, the property as collateral. So,
and by the way, you also cannot discharge this kind of debt.
No. So
even if you did declare bankruptcy, this remains.
I think, I don't want to call it a best kept secret because it's probably a worst kept secret. I would venture to say, Harry, that most of your listeners are not aware of the fact that, that if they co-sign for a child or a grandchild and that loan is not being paid, that the government has another venue to go collect those funds. So, Harry, imagine for a minute, 15% of your Social Security, is basically, being deducted. In addition, as you know, depending upon, where you live, the government, Medicare Part B is about $109 a month. That's also deducted for those enrolled in Medicare and receiving a Social Security benefit. So, I think you really need to look, behind the door, so to speak, to clearly understand, if you think you're collecting $2,500 a month or $2,000 a month in Social Security, depending upon your bracket, up to 85% of that could be taxed as well. So you got to do the planning, and you can't.
Do you think there will ever be a bailout for this more than $1 trillion of debt that people are just not going to ever pay back? And keep in mind, it dies with if you take a Parent Plus loan out and you have some 30 or 40 year, 50 year, it's crazy the amount of years they will let you go out. I think in some cases even 60 years out. You're going to die before you pay much or certainly not all of it, and then it goes away.
Harry, I that's a really great question, and as I kind of mull through it, I'm saying, well, okay, does a bailout make sense? Maybe yes, we'll say. Where does it come from?
You know where it comes from.
I mean, is it so? In other words,
from the taxpayers.
So you, as the taxpayer, me as a taxpayer, listeners as taxpayers, we're going to be forced on another tax.
And people say just like we bailed out the banks.
Well, the banks.
They paid it back.
If you look at the banks, I think that situation was a little bit different.
They did pay it back.
And I'm sure I'll take a lot of heat from your listeners.
Pretty fast response, though.
They go back and they say, well, if it wasn't for the government, the banks would be out of business. They should be out of business because they took on a lot of aggressive lending, et cetera, et cetera. I won't dispute that fact, but
I will. I was in favor of what we did. It needed to be done. I believe that we were truly at the precipice.
Oh no,
that they say.
I agree with you. I mean, I'm saying,
in fairness, the big banks paid the money back.
Well, the money got paid back quickly, efficiently, and with significant interest above the market rate at the time.
So this is not analogous because the banks paid it back and paid it back very quickly. If there was a bailout of this $1 trillion+ of student parent plus loan debt, this would never be paid back.
I think the circumstances were totally different because the debt that the banks held, it was held by a commercial institution versus you and I having that parent plus loan out there. So, and Harry, what it gets back to, and I don't want to sound repetitive or redundant, but if you did the planning from the very beginning, and you set up the 529 accounts and you funded it, and always, what always concerns you and concerns me is when you hear someone say, well, I can't afford to do that right now because. And, one of the things that we oftentimes do, with prospective clients is make sure you have a budget, make sure you clearly understand where you're going. Think about the number of times you go to the ATM machine and you draw that cash out, and what do you do with that money? A lot of times it gets wasted. I mean, I'll go back to my trip to Chicago. I saw 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 chains store operations based out of the state of Washington. You know who I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
All right. It begins with an S. And I just shook my head and said, oh, my goodness, is this area of town that populated to support 3 of these franchises within 5 minutes of each other? And, it's real easy to get in, to get out. You buy your purchase. They upsell you. It's not like you're buying a $2 cup of coffee. You walk out of there with an $8 drink in your hand.
Yeah.
So, and again, I guess the point I'm trying to make is, college is so important right now, I think, for a lot of parents and grandparents. So spend the time, spend the effort, spend the energy. Hopefully you can find the resources to fund that.
Well,
here's Chuck. And then you don't have that bill on the back end.
I know, but you got to do that. That's why we preach every time that you're here and every time I get to speak about your brand, because you need to do that from the time they're in the womb. But when the baby's born, have the plan ready to go, because then your only plan, if you wait till the end and you don't have anything put aside, is to take these loans that are made available as long as your credit is good, but then you're accumulating. Your children, your grandchildren get to go get their 4-year degree in 5 years. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Ha, ha, ha. Because that's what it takes now. But then you have to pay it.
Yeah,
the hard way.
And perfect case in point. We were speaking yesterday with a longstanding client. They are the godparents of a newborn. Wanted to make a gift to get their college, the 529 count started. We picked out a couple we did some projected college costs. It's a nice package that we put together, as a gift for the recipient to receive, obviously. And the client said to me, why did you get this done so quickly? We would expect this would have taken some time. And my comment was, well, we think college is so terribly important for all of us, and if
more than ever,
and if we can get this done for you quickly, and you can turn that around and give it as the gift, and hopefully convince the parents that they hear the cost and they understand, maybe they'll get engaged and begin to fund the account as well. So,
Chuck, anything in closing?
Well, Harry, as we started the program.
By the way, that was a very important part of your program. I think that helps a lot of people understand if you take care of the college early, it's not that painful. You wait until too long, and then you get really just sapped with these huge loans. It's devastating for the rest of your life.
Yeah. So, Harry, we think that the bull market's going to continue. The economic cycle will continue to advance. The market, as we talked about, grows a little bit older and mature. Investors are always looking at why this should end. They are still skeptical about equities. We always talked about the Rodney Dangerfield rally, and I think, Harry, we're still there. Even though we hit new highs again yesterday, there's a risk aversion remains high. There's a lot of cash on the sidelines ready to go. So not only are we seeing here domestically, but we're also seeing it, globally. I mean, the economies, outside the U.S. are doing better. And I think a lot of us clearly don't understand. As you mentioned before, third quarter, we're pretty much in the rearview mirror at this point in time. Earnings will come. Harry, I think we're going to probably, October 10 or so, we'll start reporting what those are. And anticipation is that earnings should be relatively good. The benchmark's going to be higher because Q3 last year is sort of a tough number to beat. But we still think that there's a fair amount of room to go in what we're seeing here with equities.
Chuck, awesome program. A reminder for all of your financial planning needs, turn to the Malamut Group. Chuck Malamut is the managing director of his team, the Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office, 609-383-2010. Really great content this morning,
Harry,
Chuck.
thanks again, and thanks again for taking care of me. I appreciate it.
Buddy. We'll be back in just a few minutes. We may have a special guest pop by just for a few minutes. We're going to do a full hour next week. We'll see what happens. And you never know what comes next, because we are Hurley in the Morning on WPG.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Simplify Medical's clinical trial for spinal disc replacement. Visit simplifytrial.com.
School bells are ringing again, and the transition from summer to school is a challenge for many kids. Most of the time they adjust after a few weeks, but occasionally a child will become unhappy or withdrawn, which may indicate a more serious issue. Maybe he can't see the blackboard, or he's afraid to speak up when he has a question, or worse, he's being bullied. So what do we do? Here's some advice from ahaparenting.com. Ask calm questions about his day and listen closely. Start conversations by reading books about school together. Offer your own positive school stories and how you finally adjusted. If it continues, talk with his teacher. And remember, kids who aren't well rested may find it more challenging to cope with the demands of the school day. So make sure your kids get between 8 and 9 hours of sleep every night.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Simplify Medical's clinical trial for spinal disc replacement. Visit simplifytrial.com.
Why have over 3 million guys switched to Harry's razors? Because at Harry's, we give you less. We make just one razor with 5 German-engineered blades. Ding! All you need for a smooth and comfortable shave. And we got rid of upcharges. By owning the factory and cutting out the middleman, we're able to sell our high-quality blades for half the price of the other guys. Ka-ching! Now we're dropping the half-price sound effects guy.
Wait, why?
Not everyone can give you high quality for a fraction of the price. Harry's. One perfect razor. None of the extra noise. As a special offer for radio listeners, get an $18 shave set with an added bonus for free when you visit harrys.com and use code 1313 at checkout. Just cover a few bucks for shipping. That's harrys.com, code 1313 for a free shave set offer. Again, it's harrys.com, code 1313. Please note, no sound effects guys were harmed in the making of this radio recording.
Win Harry Hurley's money. Your next chances to win up to $5,000 are coming up at 12:30 and 5:30 this afternoon. Powered by Nancy Kowalik Real Estate Group. Your home sold guaranteed. Visit nancyhasallthebuyers.com for details. Now back to Harry Hurley on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Ladies and gentlemen, get a load of this. I'm so happy because I didn't really want to wait until next Tuesday. It was just my schedule, and I want to do a full hour with Miss New Jersey, Caitlin Schofel. She did. Now, Caitlin, I think you're going to admit to this. One of my nicknames is Pocket Kreskin. You know the amazing Kreskin, right?
Oh, of course
He makes predictions. He's a friend of mine, and he gave me permission to go by the alias Pocket Kreskin.
Ooh.
Makes me like his mini-me.
Okay,
I make
awesome.
predictions. Do you remember our interview?
Yes, I do.
And I said how well you were going to fare. And I said it was going to come down to the questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if I went back and pulled the tape, which we have, I think I even cited some of the questions that were actually going to be asked. And I have to say to everybody listening, Caitlin will be with us for the full 9 o'clock hour a week from today. So we're going to have a lot of time to go into everything. But we have about 6 minutes right now until the top of the hour, and our next guest is coming on right after the top of the hour. Caitlin, I could not be more proud as a fellow Egg Harbor Township resident, as a fan of yours. You did everything that I thought you were going to do.
Wow, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I was so excited just to make it into that top 15. Miss New Jersey hasn't done that in, I think, since 2001.
And remember, you were top 14 because you didn't need America's Choice.
You're
Did you see what I did, my timeline?
I did. That was amazing. And you just kept editing it and editing
Correct.
it. That was incredible.
I did it the whole evening.
Thanks for keeping people updated.
It was awesome, and hundreds of people liked it. And we saw that you popped in at one point and acknowledged that it was there.
Yeah.
I knew, and I'm telling you, you'll get to know me now that we become friends. I don't say this to be nice, kind, or anything like that. I hadn't said anything about a Miss New Jersey that I said about you since Jennifer Macris, now Jennifer Macris Hill.
Right.
And she would tell you that.
And she was
I said how she was going to do.
Runner-up?
Correct. What you did was extraordinary, and I really do believe it came down to the final question. Did you feel that way?
You know what? I'm not really sure. Yes and no. I think that I think I had a couple of things against me. I looked very similar to the last year's Miss America,
True.
Savvy. All week long, I was being told I was Savvy 2.0. So, I do think that, it comes down to all of your points collectively. But, if I had to try to place any, well, maybe they wanted to go with someone because they want to increase their participation and contestant participation throughout the entire year. And to crown a girl that looks very similar to the prior Miss America, I think would maybe decrease their participation in contestants.
When I saw that you were top 14, not top 15, because top 15 was America's Choice, the 15th.
Right.
I
like it when you say that. That makes me feel good.
Because it's true. You were chosen by the judges. And America's Pick is cool because that's neat.
Yeah.
But you were the one that went through the interviews and actually emerged. And what I noticed was each round, I'm like, all right, there's this many left.
Right.
And then they always, and the hometown girl,
Let me tell you, that was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
How Chris Harrison
Yeah.
announced that I was still
Still
here.
here.
You just knew when he said that, prior to announcing my name, you knew it was going to be
You
New
were the
Jersey.
only one that could get, a head start.
Yeah.
On your answer.
It was so cool.
Your talent was perfect.
Thank you.
I thought you were exceptional with the questions, and I was extraordinarily proud of your last answer because I feel that you didn't sell out. You gave an intellectually honest answer that was probably not totally politically correct in the popular culture of the judges.
Yeah.
But you didn't pander, and I don't want to say that I think that cost you the crown because I don't want to go there.
Right.
Because I want to say that Miss America earned it. But
she did. She'll be amazing.
But you were right there.
So close.
What was this like when you knew you were in the final three? You knew it.
I mean, personally, you just have to think, oh my gosh, this could actually be it.
Yeah.
That I could actually have just won Miss America.
Yeah.
And that feeling is so exciting. But even to be in that top 5, you go down in history in the Miss America books.
Yeah.
For example, for next year, every single state program book has a picture of that top 5 in the program book for their state competition.
Oh, you're elite.
So
there's no question.
I mean, it's really, really an incredible honor. I mean, and when you get down to that top 5, honestly, every girl in that top 5, I personally believe, won the competition.
Yeah. Anyone could have.
Yeah. And then at that,
it's like a coin toss.
That point, it's just okay, who do we need to be our Miss America?
We're going to have a lot of time next week. We have about 2 minutes right now. I can't wait till our hour because we're going to really be able to delve into your experience. But
I'm very excited.
I am too. In a couple of minutes, did you exceed your expectations? And it's not conceded to say you exceeded or that actually you met your expectations. Did you expect to do this well?
So here's the thing. Going into a competition, I think you have to always have the mindset that you're going to win. You have to, play the game kind of a thing. But from a different standpoint, I wasn't expecting to make that top 15. You Miss New Jerseys have been phenomenal and not made that 15.
Correct.
You never know what the judges are looking for. You never know. You only have, I have to calculate the exact minutes that you have to actually compete. There's a 10-minute interview, and then on-stage competition, I think, is only in total maybe 3 minutes long. So to capture a panel of judges in 13 minutes total is so difficult. So, I was So I did not think I was going to make that 15.
The other thing that you did, though, that was so awesome, and it's in my recap if people want to read it, Harry Hurley on Facebook, you made it as far as you could go in the competition. Nobody did any further. You got as many questions as you could get. You made every round, and I have to comment on this. You absolutely, and I'm not just saying this as a homer, you won the night at the parade, too. Oh, my gosh.
Thank you.
You went over the top
my
and
crazy
brought
costume.
it.
Hey, you know
That's what you got to do.
Yep, go big or go home.
And when you arrived, we were at resorts at Capriccio on the balcony about 20 feet off the ground, and Heather and I and Joe Kelly, who you know all, you've been on all their shows, we went just crazy over what you did.
Thank you so much. My mom was a showgirl in Atlantic City for 15 years, so I honored my costume after her.
Caitlin, I cannot wait until next Tuesday. This is such a bonus that you just happen to be at Broadcast Center, and I said, would you come in? So this is our preview to next week.
Awesome. I'm so excited. Thanks.
Looking forward to it. Good to see you. We'll be back. Dr. Mark Newkirk, he's back from Africa. You won't believe. It's like Commander McBragg, his travels.
WPGG Atlantic City, WSJO 104.9 HD2 Egg Harbor City. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
He says he wants the UN to regain the trust of the people around the world. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Trump getting ready to deliver his first address at the General Assembly. Fox's Tanya J. Powers live at the UN in New York.
Well, Dave, we expect the president to make the few blocks trip over from Trump Tower in the next half hour or so. Now, earlier this morning, he tweeted, "Big day at the United Nations. Many good things and some tricky ones happening." In keeping with his America